Well, here we are, the final day of Matchday 1. The final 8 teams in this World Cup finally take their first steps on this stage. We have Group K, Group L action coming at you. In Group K, it is Portugal taking on the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And then it's going to be Uzbekistan taking on Colombia. If we move on to Group L, England, of course, the Three Lions take on Croatia, and Ghana take on Panama. Got 4 more games to get to here to get through match day 1. So let's get after it. Welcome back into the Nick Bird Sports Network and, of course, World Cup preview. It is unbelievably the final day of match day 1 of the first games of this group stage. Kind of hard to believe that we're already at this point here on match day 7 of the World Cup. A lot of action to get to here. We're going to dive right in with Group K. Our first kickoff of the day is going to be a 1 p.m. kickoff live from Houston, Texas. It is Portugal taking on the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Of course, Cristiano Ronaldo will be the main talking point of this one. Becomes the second player, right behind, of course, Lionel Messi last night, to appear in 6 World Cups. That is just hard to fathom. But here we are anyways. Portugal, obviously it feels like it's the last tournament for Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, he could play in Saudi Arabia for another 4 years and come back in 2030 because Portugal is a co-host of the World Cup in 2030. So maybe he comes back for a 7th World Cup and, tries to one-up Messi, who I'm about 99% sure won't be back because he was barely back at this tournament. So anything's possible. But this feels like it is the last dance for Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, this Portugal team may be the most informed team that they've had going into a World Cup in a while. This may be the most talented team they've had at a World Cup in a while. And honestly, this team may be possibly better without Ronaldo. That's to be seen. But if we take a look at their form coming into this game, 4 wins, 1 draw. So, that's pretty good. If you take a look at the teams they've beaten, most recently they beat Nigeria 2-1. They also beat Chile 2-1. They beat the United States 2-0 back in March. They beat Mexico, or they drew with Mexico, 0-0 back in March. And then back in November, they beat Armenia 9-1. So, yes, there are only 2 World Cup sides in those past 5 games, and they won 1 and draw 1. Not the greatest, obviously, but this team is still uberly talented, I would say. You look at Diogo Costa in that, kind of has become a stalwart for this Portugal team. I look at, your defensive midfield of most likely Neves and Vitinha. Those are 2 phenomenal players to have in that midfield. You look at your attacking midfielders of Bernardo Silva, Bruno Fernandes, and Pedro Neto. Again, that's phenomenal. And your striker will most likely be Ronaldo. There is 0 chance, I believe, that Ronaldo is going to play 90 minutes in any of these games at this World Cup. That's going to be something to watch there because that kind of opens, up a few doors there. Rafael Leão, possibly. But this is, I think, the most equally balanced Portugal team we have ever seen. And that does include the team that won the 2016 Euro. I like the idea of this team. It's the managerial side of it. Roberto Martinez is the manager. He's already mentioned well, not even mentioned. He said basically flat out, he is done after this World Cup. He's never been like a phenomenal manager. He's been very good. You have to give him credit where credit's due. He has some massive things on his resume. FA Cup with Wigan, led Belgium to their farthest ever finish. Now, arguably, probably should have done better with them given the golden generation they had, but he kind of squandered that opportunity. He's now with Portugal on their basically last dance with Ronaldo. He never strikes anything exciting in me, truly. And that's going to be my biggest worry for Portugal here. I've already seen kind of some things being thrown around that, he feels like the perfect fit for U.S. soccer when Pochettino leaves after the World Cup. Personally, terrible hire if that happens. I know he wins games, but I don't think he's the type of manager the U.S. needs right now. Truly, I do not. Overall, you take a look at the Democratic Republic of the Congo back at the World Cup for the first time since 1974, when they were Zaire at the time. This is going to be a classic. They will be parking the bus from kickoff. I'm expecting them to be in a 5-3-2. I'm expecting full defense, nothing else. Obviously, you have Johan Wissa there as you're probably going to be your main striker. But overall, it's how much can the bus take before goals get let in? And that's going to be the interesting challenge here, because we've seen Cabo Verde park the bus, got a 0-0 draw. Saudi Arabia kind of tried it against Uruguay. That was kind of a different situation, though. I mean, they got a point out of it, so I guess it kind of worked. They could have got 3, though. So I'm expecting a fully defensive performance from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, but it just feels like Portugal is going to score in this game, and the Congo will not have a response for it. So give me a 2-0 scoreline to Portugal to win this game. Instead of going in group order, because this does flip-flop, we're going in chronological order. 4 o'clock tomorrow from the Dallas Stadium, not in Dallas, Texas, of course. It's in Arlington, Texas. It is the 3 Lions of England beginning their journey going up against Croatia. I don't know how to feel about this, truly. I have made my feelings known about England. I almost more than anything other than, obviously, United States winning the World Cup, which I know probably is never going to happen. I want football to come home at least once, and this feels like it possibly could be the last time for a little while. I mostly say that because it doesn't really feel like there's a striker coming up in the English system right now that can be a replacement to Harry Kane. And I know Harry Kane's only 32. And I say only, knowing that's considered kind of old in football terms. But it feels like he's starting to hit his peak right about now. He's finally, as much as it pains me to say it, he moved on from Tottenham to Bayern Munich, starts winning some things. Obviously, he didn't win anything in his first season. Starts winning the league. He's won the league twice now. I believe he's won the Pokal once. Still waiting for that European trophy. This feels like the right time, I guess. I know there have been a lot of questions about this England squad, especially under Thomas Tuchel, who has maybe just picked the right guys to fit a system instead of picking the best guys, which maybe that works out. I don't know. But it feels like today will be kind of deciding how this tournament's going to go for England. Now, they're going up against their biggest challenge in this group. and that is Croatia, who still have a very good team, even though they also have hit the sunset hours of their golden generation, mostly looking at Luka Modric there. But they do have some great young players coming up, like Luka Vuskovic, the center back for Tottenham. Well, kind of, maybe. 17 years old. Had a very good season in the Bundesliga this year with Hamburg. He's most likely starting tomorrow. His first World Cup game, and he's 17 years old. Just absolutely mental to even think about that. To think when I was 17 years old, I was sitting on a couch watching the 2018 World Cup. Wildly different 17-year-olds there. This is going to be a challenge for England. And, a lot of people have joked, the games have kind of been great this tournament so far, which means England are going to put up the nastiest 0-0 draw that you have ever seen. I don't disagree. It sure feels like the way that Thomas Tuchel is playing, this is going to be just kind of an ugly game. Now, ugly can win you games. It can also draw you games. It usually ends up in a loss, though, if we're honest. I look at their two games that they had coming into this World Cup, both in Florida. 1-0 win against New Zealand, which doesn't sound great on paper. And then a 3-0 win against Costa Rica, which, again, on paper doesn't sound the greatest. If you take a look back at the March window, a 1-0 loss to Japan at home and a 1-1 draw against Uruguay. It just, something feels right about this team. And I don't know truly if it's because the stat keeps getting thrown around. Foreign managers never won a World Cup. Well, what if that's broken by a German managing the English? That feels fitting, doesn't it? It just feels so fitting. Overall, though, it's one game at a time, basically. Right now, it's one game at a time. Focusing on Croatia, this just does feel like the nastiest 0-0 draw, doesn't it? It really does, as much as it pains me to say that. I hate that I'm taking that. I'll take the draw. 0-0. I will bite into that apple and just pray that I am completely wrong on this one. One way or the other, because if England kind of get blown out, then we can temper some expectations here. But England were the only UEFA team to qualify with a perfect record, 0 goals conceded. That's partially why UEFA is kind of changing how they do World Cup qualifying from here on out. So, hey, give me a 0-0 draw. We'll continue in Group L, 7 p.m. in Toronto. It is Ghana going up against Panama. Now, I already do have kind of a interesting thing here I've noticed. Obviously, Ghana sacked their manager about a month ago. They brought in Carlos Quinotes, the former Iran manager. He managed Iran back in 22. He is now taking charge of this Ghana team. Ghana have not won in 7 matches. Yet, by Vegas odds, they are a decent favorite here. You look at the FIFA rankings, which again, I've explained before, do not matter. But I still kind of use them just to put numbers out there. Panama is ranked 34th in FIFA. Ghana is 73. And again, they have not won in 7 matches. I take a look at their last 5 matches. Their most recent one, they drew 1-1 against Wales. And on that list, that Wales is the only team they have faced that have not made the World Cup. So they lost to Mexico 2-0, lost to Germany 2-1, lost to Austria 5-1, and lost to South Africa 1-0. Well, one thing. Thomas Partey not playing. Visa not accepted in Canada. That's what happens when you lie on your visa paperwork and say you have no criminal charges currently pressed against you. That quite interesting choice there to decide to lie on your visa application, because I would say it's not the smartest thing to do, but I'm no lawyer. So you look at Panama, though. Their past results, they have 2 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss in their past 5 games. They drew 1-1 against Bosnia and Herzegovina. They have 4-2 win against Dominican Republic, lost 6-2 to Brazil, a 2-1 win against South Africa, and a 1-1 draw against South Africa. Panama obviously gets in via CONCACAF. I don't know how to read this game, because I keep looking at the stat that Ghana has not won in 7 games. The fact they are favorites here really, really confuses me, because that just does not make sense to me. I get that they might have the better players, but it's you've lost 7 haven't won in 7 games. This is where I overthink it, and I go the wrong way, even though the right way is right in front of my face. I'm taking Panama here. I don't even remember what I did in my predictions. I think I picked Ghana to finish bottom of the group. I could be wrong. Give me Panama to win this game. Playing on CONCACAF turf helps them here somehow. I'm still trying to look for that somehow, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. Final game of the day, 10 p.m. kickoff from I almost said the forbidden words, the Azteca. It is the Mexico City Stadium as Uzbekistan takes on Colombia, 10 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Uzbekistan, first World Cup game. They truly, the only thing worse in their group, they could have played Portugal in their first game. The fact they are playing Colombia, who are kind of a big dark horse for a lot of people. Not the greatest of starts for them. Colombia, what can I say? This team kind of feels right. It's a South American team playing in the Americas against a team that's not going to be used to this. It sure does feel right, doesn't it? You look at Colombia's last 5 results. 3 wins, 2 losses, I should say. They beat Jordan 2-0. They beat Haiti 2-0, I believe. I believe it was Costa Rica. Sorry, it was Costa Rica 3-1. They lost to France 3-1. They lost to Croatia 2-1. And they beat Australia 3-0. Now we take a look at Uzbekistan's results, and I'm going to point out the most recent 2. They lost 2-1 to the Netherlands, and they lost 2-0 to Canada. Now, the big thing coming out of those games, everybody was talking about how this Uzbekistan team is being underrated because they've never been on this stage. Nobody really knows a lot about them, which I completely get that. But they were very impressed with how they played. I watched that game against Canada. I was like, this team is actually not bad. And maybe that's because they were playing Canada, and Canada doesn't seem to be great at this tournament. We'll find out more about that tomorrow. We'll get there when we get there. But it was the game against the Netherlands where they lost 2-1, but it took a late penalty for them to win that game. Now, their goal came in stoppage time, and then the winning goal came also in stoppage time on the penalty for the Netherlands, and there was a red card thrown in there. But Uzbekistan was pretty decent in that one, and it kind of shocked me. Now, they did play more defensively. They kind of parked the bus because they only had 8 total shots in the game, had 35% possession, 1 shot on target, 7 total touches in the opponent's box. This feels like another park the bus game, and if Colombia can get the levee to break, then all hell is going to break loose for Uzbekistan, and they're screwed, basically. Playing at the Azteca, that is the interesting part to me. I don't know how I don't know how that environment is going to be, period, without Mexico playing. That is going to be quite interesting to watch because, yes, you will have Colombia fans there. Yes, you will have Uzbek fans there. But you're also going to run into the problems that we've seen with the other games in Mexico in this tournament where it feels like half the crowd is in green for Mexico, even though Mexico aren't playing. So that's my struggle here. I don't know how the teams are going to handle that. That is going to be quite the fascinating scenario tomorrow night. I really don't know how I feel about this game. I'm going to take Colombia, but I don't feel confident about it, even though they are, I think, clearly the better team. We're just going to roll with Colombia here. I'll take them 2-0. I think Uzbekistan give them a challenge and people are questioning how good this Colombia team is, and then they get their goals. That's kind of how this feels. So with that being said, that wraps up the final Matchday 1 games of the 2026 World Cup. Tomorrow, Groups A and B retake the stage. Cannot wait to preview all those technically Matchday 2 matches as we enter the second week of the FIFA World Cup. So thank you so much for watching here on the Expert Sports Network. If you just stumbled across this, click like, click subscribe, tell everybody you know about it. As you can see, if you click on, the channel, content is going to keep rolling out this whole World Cup. We're only one group stage game in, so you might as well just stick along for the ride. So thank you so much for watching. We will see you again very soon for another episode here on the Nick Burt Sports Network.